This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
Welcome, my friends, to the I Can't Believe Already once again. Yeah, it happened fast. It's Friday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Busy day today. The chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, is supposed to be giving us a buzz at some point during the show. Going to talk to him about the, in quotes, big, beautiful bill. And, of course, the messages were going all through the night, the news stories all through the night on the big breakup between Elon and Donald Trump. And supposedly there are signs that a reconciliation may be in the works. I cannot wait until tomorrow morning. No matter what else because Princess Diana always brings something real that we've never contemplated to our attention on the Saturday Morning Vibe, but I just want to see what she thinks about all of this business between Trump and Elon. It has been quite interesting to watch. I'm going to talk about that big, beautiful bill. There are some troubling things that are being discussed about the bill, and to the point that I don't know what we should expect, and I don't know whether the chairman knows of the RNC what to expect once this thing starts to move through the Senate. But we'll get to all of that. First, though, I'm going to embarrass one of the members of the staff by asking a simple question. Jonas, in school, what did you learn about today's date? June the 6th.
You're talking about D-Day?
Thank God. Thank God. Do you know what it was?
Yes.
You got the date. Do you know what it was?
It was probably the most...
probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The most important day as far as us winning World War II. It was an attack
And why
in Normandy,
was it the most important day?
Because it was pivotal in us defeating Germany, because Germany
don't
had
give
that
me the
part of
pablum
France.
answer. You don't have AI in front of you. Because it was pivotal in us. Why was it pivotal? Never mind. You did better than I expected.
It's funny. I knew you were going to ask me, too. I had a feeling.
You had a feeling. Dean Karayanis is with us, ladies and gentlemen. He is, of course, the official historian for not only Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, but for our Saturday Morning Vibe. Dean, as many of you know, is a alumni of the Rush Limbaugh program. He was one of Rush Limbaugh's web producers. He is a brilliant columnist. He runs a website, historyauthor.com. He is also an author himself. Things, too, not just history, but also cuisine. And he's just an amazing guy all around. Dear friend. Love him like you can't believe. Dean, let me ask you the question. What happened 81 years ago today?
I think Jonas deserves some applause, because that's probably more than you get out of members of Congress, much less a lot of people in a radio studio. So, and I'm glad to see some traditions live on. Here it is, Friday, and you're still lowering the quality for callers and having me on for an open line Friday style call. But we're here to enable the joke today, I guess. It's because of the service of these battles and these veterans of World War II and so many others. But this is a day where we focus on them. But I decided in my column at the New York Sun today that people can go read it at nysun.com. And you're so kind, you share things like that on Twitter. But to think about all the Hollywood stars, because those stories have been a little bit reduced to, oh, hey, here's some trivia that Scotty from Star Trek And, of course, he was a real man. His name wasn't Scotty. He wasn't even Scottish. He was Canadian, James Doohan, the craziest man in the Canadian Air Force, they called him. He did some really crazy things during his service, and he was shot by one of his own men there at the beach, lost a finger. You had Henry Fonda, who said, I'm going to enlist because I don't want to just be a guy who's fake in a war studio. You had a lot of people, and I thought the connection is today we see Hollywood, many people, is just so out of touch. It's a career, and the difference is that these people, the Americans of the 1940s, of World War II, they had this shared experience. They remembered where they were on D-Day as much as they did on Pearl Harbor Day, and they made all these sacrifices, and they brought them home, and they could identify with the people in the theater, and the people in the theater could identify with the people on the silver screen because they had such a shared experience. And I thought that's a good thing to write about today that would maybe bring people a little together. And I've written a few columns now about trying to get Hollywood to get them back to being the cultural force that they were, because they did so much great for America, particularly in that post-war era when then we have the Cold War.
And there were so many. I mean, some of the British actors as well. I mean, their country was, of course, hanging in the balance. Sir Alec Guinness helped land a troop plane on the Atlantic Wall. Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., Hollywood, led a platoon into combat. That had to be one of the scariest things of his life at Utah Beach. And they pushed into France during Operation Cobra. You mentioned James Doohan, Star Trek, injured when a sentry mistook him from a German friendly fire. David Niven, who used to be one of my favorite actors when I was a kid, served. And Churchill told him before he became the UK Prime Minister, you did a fine thing to give up your film career to fight for your country, but had you not done so, it would have been despicable. And so many others. And I just love your column, so I wanted to lead off with it and just say, you know, the number of men and women in our armed services now who were alive during D-Day are rapidly diminishing. But this was not just a pivotal day for the United States. This was a pivotal day for the world. This was probably, there has been never, and we are never likely to see this because of the advancement of weaponry. This was the largest single effort in terms of logistics, the number of troops that were moved, the surprise element. So many movies have been written about that. The planning of this, to actually America and the forces of the Allied powers to invade Germany, and which of course signaled the beginning of the end for World War II. It is something that the American people ought to keep as one of their national treasures as long as there is an America.
Yeah, amen. Because we don't have to do those things. And when you can move people with words, and I take seriously what you said about my writing, and I appreciate it, of course, but I feel I owe it, and I feel we all owe it, whatever our talents are, whatever our job is, whatever our career, to remember them in the best way that we can. And it's too bad that Hollywood doesn't have people who think that way anymore, or that are able to, just because they don't have the shared experience. But after the war, you had even David Niven. I watched The Guns of Navarone the other day because I watched the recent movie Warfare, which was great. And here's a former Navy SEAL that produced and co-wrote or directed and co-wrote a movie, and so realistic, really blew me away with its realism. And I don't mean gore, but realism. And David Niven was one of those guys that he's the conscience of that movie, The Guns of Navarone. And then you had, and actually Gregory Peck was looking for an anti-war message in it. So it's not as if, they were all the same and they all agreed and they were all jingoistic or whatever people want to say. They had to fight the wars. And many people who do fight those wars, it doesn't mean that they hate the country, but that they wish to avoid them. Often they'll tell you the way is to be strong. I interviewed a 100-year-old, I think he was 103 at the time, Pearl Harbor veteran on the History Author show. And you can find that at historyauthor.com. And he said, keep strong, keep America strong. That's the way. And that's what happened on Pearl Harbor. They thought we were weak. And then you have to go later and do something like the Normandy invasion. And it's not something that would be necessary. People understood the cost beforehand, and I think we're much stronger. No one ever – there's a reason lions have teeth and claws, right? People don't mess with them because they do. If they didn't, then you'd eat them.
Boom. Dean, thank you so much for joining us, starting the show with us today. It is, people should look at the column, New York Sun, NewYorkSun.com, Dean Karayanis, HistoryAuthor.com. Thank you so much, Dean.
Thank you, James. Have a good day. And good job again, Jonas.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Save up to 50% with minimum purchase at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
1936. One of the greatest singers of the Motown era is born. Levi Stubbs, lead vocalist for the Four Tops. So many hits. Standing in the Shadows of Love, Bernadette. They did a reboot of Walk Away Renee, which was fabulous. This one, of course, one of their first big ones. Same Old Song. A lot of those Holland Dozier Holland songs. But the Four Tops, part of the Motown history. Happy heavenly birthday. Leon Stubbs passed away in 2008. First 45 I ever bought was this. Here's the things you remember. Yeah, I shouldn't say I bought it. My mom bought it for her 3 children. All right, so we're expecting to hear from Chairman Watley of the RNC shortly talk about that big, beautiful bill. But I want to grab Stephen Miller real quick, Cut 7, and his take on it. I forget which channel he was on, maybe Fox. Go ahead, hit it.
For one, according to our estimates, you're going to see a $13,000 average increase in take-home pay for the typical family. $13,000.
That's a lot of
both
money.
The combination of economic growth that this bill will unleash, as well as the historic tax cuts that will be unleashed. Again, you're talking about not only making the Trump tax cuts permanent, but the largest package of working class, middle class tax relief that has ever been proposed. You combine that with unleashing American energy, getting rid of wasteful regulations, and then also, very importantly, getting the illegal aliens out of the country who are driving down wages for working people. This is the most working class bill that has ever been proposed. I've been in what people call the conservative movement for my entire life, since I was a child, since I was in high school. I never dreamed that we could have a bill as conservative, as transformative, as pro-American as this legislation is. This is the most populist pro-American bill. This is the MAGA agenda in legislative form.
Okay, all well and good. Chip Roy is issuing his warning to the Senate of the United States about the bill. Cut 3, Jonas. This goes on for a bit. We'll do as much of it as we can, try to capture it all, but here's Chip Roy.
The Inflation Reduction Act, the Green New Scam. I'm going to tell you the one reason I voted for this bill. One, yes, I like the Medicaid work requirements. Yes, I like a lot of the extensions of the tax cuts. Yes, I like some of the policies that stop funding Planned Parenthood. Yes, I like some of the policies that stop funding transgender surgeries. All of those are good. But in my opinion, we needed more spending restraint if you want to be honest about deficits. But I voted for this bill for one reason, and this is why I'm on the floor today. Because I need the United States Senate to hear this as clearly as I can say it. We got restrictions on the Green New Scam to ensure that about 55 or 60% of those subsidies that are going to enrich billion-dollar corporations to put money in the pockets of the Chinese to undermine our grid with unreliable energy and undermine natural gas and undermine nuclear, all while bolstering wind and solar, which is littering our fields and littering our landscape, all to provide unreliable energy. We fought like hell to get restrictions on that, to get 60% of the Green New Scam basically terminated. The president campaigned on terminating all of it, but this weak-ass Congress and Senate are going to not do that because, we can't disrupt the existing flow of the $400 billion of subsidies going into the pockets of all those big companies raking in the money so they can get free money while you guys all subsidize they're getting rich and your grid gets weaker. This Congress is going to do that. And we fought like cats and dogs to get that 60%. And everybody in town, the K Street lobby, are freaking out. Oh no, we're not going to be able to have our subsidies to build more wind farms and solar farms. We're not going to have more giveaways because their energy won't compete. So that is the one reason I voted for this bill. So my message to the Senate, this will get clipped. It will get sent to the Senate. I'm looking at you, Tom Tillis. I'm looking at you over there in the Senate. You backslide 1 inch on those IRA subsidies, and I'm voting against this bill. I want the White House to hear it. I want the Senate to hear it, because it is the only reason I voted for this bill. Because those godforsaken subsidies are killing our energy, killing our grid, making us weaker, destroying our landscape, undermining our freedom, and I'm not going to have it. So you do what you want to do in the Senate, House of Lords, have your fun. But if you mess up the Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Scam subsidies, I ain't voting for that bill.
Well, so the Green New Scam better not, the savings by cutting some of these massive subsidies better not go away, according to Chip Roy. Folks, they cannot afford to lose a vote in the House, not one. They can't afford to lose one vote, and there's more dissension in the House. Oh, yes. Fun Friday, isn't it? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it certainly is. We'll be back. Keep it right here. Don't go away. Bo Snerdley. Rush Hour continues.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
A big day in rock and roll history, my friends. The year was 1965. Everybody in the studio, a bunch of kids in the studio today. We got some new interns. You have no idea the industry you're getting into. But they're all smiley and everything. The way interns always come in, they're always smiley. And you're going to keep smiling. I'm only messing with you. It's going to be a great experience. But you weren't even born when this song came out. None of you. You either, Jonas.
I know this song.
We all.
Yeah, you know it because you heard your parents play it or your grandparents.
I know this song because of Brucey.
Okay. The Rolling Stone released I Can't Get No Satisfaction on this day in 1965. It blew up. And the Rolling Stones blew up. Now, believe it or not, this song could not even get played on some radio stations because the lyrics were considered too sexually suggestive. I don't even hear one suggestion in it compared to the... Anyway, Chairman Watley is with us, and I do not want to spend any more time away from him. Chairman, thank you for joining us. How are you this afternoon?
I'm absolutely doing great, and you picked a good song to lead with.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Listen, got to talk to you about this big bill. The numbers, and this is what maybe concerns me, concerns other people, because I saw you put a post out on X, and your post was to the Senate, said, look, got to pass this bill. I'm paraphrasing. This has to be passed. The numbers in the House, this bill passed by one vote. I just played a Chip Roy soundbite, and Chip was saying, okay, if the Senate kills off any of the measures that would limit the Green New Scam cutbacks, which are about 40% of the money that goes in subsidies to companies benefiting from this so-called Green New Deal. If that number isn't held on, it's going to lose his vote. Thomas Massie, and we may get to this later, came out today and said there are some provisions in there regarding the overriding of state and local zoning laws for AI purposes, for businesses that are in the tech sector that are troubling. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene go to the floor and say she wouldn't have voted for the bill if she had known that there was a provision in the bill. I believe it's the same provision dealing with AI. And there were other people saying that they didn't have time to read the bill and they're troubled by things inside. Where is this thing is going to hang on a thread in the House if it changes in the Senate? And in the Senate, you already have certain senators raising objections. What does this look like to you, Mr. Chairman?
Saturday morning cartoons, Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill, this is, we're watching that play out in real time. We are having live negotiations across the House, across the Senate. But the way that I see this bill is a very simple equation. Either we are going to have the largest tax hike in American history, or we're not. We're going to pass a bill to avert that, or we're not. The fact is that we don't need to saddle every family in America with 20, 30, 40% tax increases. We need to extend the Trump tax cuts. 80% of the American people support this bill. 72% of Democrats, 81% of Republicans support, or 72% of Democrats, 82% of independents support this bill. We need to get it done and get it to the president's desk.
Wait a minute. You're saying this bill has a lot of Democrat support. Is that what I just heard you say?
Across the country, extending the Trump tax credits, 72%.
Extending the tax credits. Okay. Hakeem Jeffries. Cut for Jonas. Mr. Chairman, as usual, I'm not playing anything that you haven't already heard because Democrats have been singing this same song no matter what bill the Republicans have come up with. Since before Jeffries, it was Pelosi. Before Pelosi, it was whoever. Same lines all the time.
Right now, we're focused on killing the bill. The GOP tax scam hurts everyday Americans and rewards billionaires. That's not what we should be doing at this moment in time in the United States of America. We should be building an affordable economy that lowers costs for hardworking American taxpayers. The GOP tax scam, this one big, ugly bill, does the exact opposite. It will raise costs.
Yeah, enough. Chairman, every single piece of legislation the Republicans have ever put up, it is the same old playbook. The Republicans want to help their wealthy friends. They're the party of the billionaires, et cetera, et cetera. It's not playing as well as it used to across America. But what is the response to this for the rank and file Democrats who are TDS in many cases and who still believe whatever their leadership says?
Yeah, look, they just need to get in touch with their constituents. They need to get in touch with the families and the workers that live in their districts and talk to them about whether those people want a 20, 30, 40% tax hike. Because I promise you, they do not. The fact is that the leadership of the Democratic Party right now is so out of touch with their voters. That's why they just lost an absolutely historic election cycle in 2024. They lost the White House, they lost the House, they lost the Senate, because they are all about an open border, inflationary spending, weak America agenda, and that's not what the American people want.
All right, we're looking at the polling on this, and the polling on the Medicaid side, what is happening with Medicaid, has been negative. I haven't seen a poll in over a week and a half, to be totally candid. So it may have shifted since then. But the last polling I saw on it, the numbers were horrific. Even Republicans, a lot of Republicans in the base, apparently don't understand what is happening with Medicaid, and the idea that there are going to be new work requirements if this bill goes through, and that there will be less people taking it. The Democrats are saying there's no Hakeem Jeffries, there's not one illegal immigrant is on it. That belies the facts. In California, the money is directly flowing to illegal immigration and illegal immigrants. What can you tell people who are squeamish about when they hear the word Medicaid and then cut?
Well, what's going to happen is this provision is going to strengthen Medicaid. It's going to make sure that Medicaid is going to be solvent and available to help America's seniors and America's most vulnerable. The fact that we are trying to put a work requirement in is something that is broadly supported by the American people. The fact that we are going to be taking illegal immigrants off the voter rolls, 1.4 million of them who should not have been on Medicaid in the first place, is something that is widely supported by the American people. So, these are common sense reforms. Eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse is something that's widely supported by the American people. The Democrats are just using the word cut to go after this. And look, Republicans do need to talk about what is in this bill and how it's going to strengthen Medicaid for our most vulnerable.
What happens what happens, and this is a real thing, okay, what happens when you have illegal immigrants who are no longer able to access these programs? That I guarantee you, Democrats are not quiet about it. In fact, I have a long sound, but I won't play it because I don't want to take up your time with us, with Scott Jennings taking on the entire Abby Show panel over this issue. And their stance is, why, of course, illegal immigrants should be getting Medicaid. Of course they should. You're going to pay for it regardless. If they don't get Medicaid when they show up to the emergency room, we're all going to pay for it. So that is the stance of not just the elected Democrat base, but their pundit class as well. Why, it's an of course we should be you're not compassionate if you tell people they can't access a benefit program. I mean, how do you fight that kind of logic?
Well, in some states, you're just going to lose in terms of trying to talk to the Democratic leadership and the mainstream media. But the fact is that the American people do not want taxpayer support going to fund illegal immigrants. And you see it all across the country. President Trump ran on a very strong mandate of shutting down the border and deporting violent criminal illegal aliens and making sure that we're going to deport all illegal aliens and set up a regime that is going to work for America. Right now, the Democrats are doing everything they can. They're fighting harder for violent criminal illegal aliens than they are their own constituents.
Amen to that. Let me just ask you this about the taxes, because taxes is a big part of this. But I'll tell you what, let's take a break. I want to ask you about specifically taxes and the wealthy when we get back, because this is the common refrain that we have heard now going back for decades. And I want to clear something up about who actually pays taxes in America. James Golden, Snerdley, with you, both Snerdley's Rush Hour. With me, Chairman of the RNC, Michael Wiley, generously giving us his time for not just one, but two segments today on this, the fastest hour in American media. Dolly is with us, Dolly Parton. You know, Whitney Houston went on today, is her anniversary of going number one with I Want to Dance with Somebody. But Dolly Parton released this song, which did incredible for Whitney and incredible for her, on this day in 1974. She wrote it. It's hers. The amazing Dolly Parton. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right. 1965, we told you Stones released I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Historic day. Historic day as well. The Beatles went into the recording studio for the first time, went to Abbey Road Studios on this day in 1962. Recorded 4 tracks. They got paid the equivalent of $12 each, by the way, for the recording session. This was one of the songs that they recorded. Of course, it became one of the classics. James Golden is Snerdley with you. With me, Chairman Michael Watley, RNC. Mr. Chairman, one of the things that Rush talked about, and I remember being stunned the first time that he talked about this on his program. He broke down who actually pays taxes. And I don't have the quintiles in front of me, but I do remember this. The top 1% of taxpayers, the top 5% of American taxpayers, those with the top 5% of income, pay close to 90% of all of the taxes in America. Yet, they are continually demonized by the Democrat Party, and I don't hear much of anybody in either party saying thank you to those who have done extremely well through their own efforts, through their own hard works, through their own achievements, for the most part, who are carrying the load of American taxes. Instead, what we hear every single time this comes up, whether it's a tax cut or something, is that the wealthy in this country are horrible. They're taken care of. They are demonized as being greedy. And the Republicans, of course, are always demonized by Democrats of wanting to help out their wealthy friends who really don't need the money. What is your take on all of this?
Well, look, the Democrats have never seen a dollar that they didn't want to tax and spend. They want to tax the rich. They want to tax middle class. They want to tax the poor. Right now, the Trump tax cuts that were enacted in 2017, by far the biggest beneficiaries in terms of what it meant for their take-home pay were the lower class and middle class. So right now, when we're trying to extend those Trump tax credits and cuts, then the biggest beneficiaries of this package are going to be the lower class and the middle class. Of course, the Democrats want to raise those taxes. Every single member of the House for the Democratic Party, every Democrat member voted to raise taxes on the lower class and the middle class. Every single one in the Senate has said they're going to vote no on this bill, and they're going to vote to raise taxes on the lower class and the middle class. So it is absolutely true on the Democratic side of the aisle that they want to tax the rich. They also want to tax the middle class, and they want to tax the poor as well.
All right. Now I asked you the numbers. You mentioned that there are negotiations going on in the Senate. What do you expect as this bill starts to move through the Senate? Will there be massive changes to the bill that was presented to them from the House? If so, that means it's got to go back to the House, and you already have, as we said, House members that are saying they're already positioning themselves to say they would vote no if there were massive changes. What should we expect coming up as this bill starts to work its way through the United States Senate?
Well, look, we're watching sausage made in real time, okay? And so there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of back and forths that are going to happen. within the Republican caucus on the Senate. The fact is they're not going to have any negotiations with the Democrats because the Democrats have said they're absolutely not going to vote for the bill in any way that it would look. So, we need to make sure that we can get it through the Senate. We need to make sure that any changes that they make are going to be acceptable to the House. President Trump has said that he is amenable to the changes that the Senate might make, but obviously know that you've got to go back and you've got to get, the House members that are going to be back on it. And we need everybody in the House and the Senate to go back to basics. This is an inflection point bill. We're going to have the largest tax hike in American history, or we're going to have the largest tax cut in American history.
Do you think those arguments are going to sway? I'm sorry to cut you off, sir. Do you think those arguments are going to sway some of the voices in the Senate that are decidedly anti-Trump? And I'll name names. Like Susan Collins has already said, she hasn't said she's against the bill, but she's already raised concerns over the Medicaid issue. We have Lisa Murkowski. We have Rand Paul. We love Rand Paul here, but Rand Paul has already said he's wishy. And we've got a few more that are raising objections to it. Do you think at the end of the day, these senators are going to come along despite whatever qualms they may have?
They need to, because the fact is that if they don't vote for this bill, they're going to vote for the largest tax hike in American history. They're also going to reject a bill that has very necessary energy provisions. This bill has provisions in there to finish the wall and put more ICE agents to work every day, deporting violent criminal illegal aliens. It's also got a number of national security provisions in there. Look, this is Donald Trump, America First agenda embodied in a bill. And it's not just Donald Trump's agenda. It's not just the Republican Party agenda. This is the American agenda. This is what the American people voted for, and it really, truly is embodied in this piece of legislation. And there's a lot of negotiations and back and forth we're going to have on certain provisions here. But at base, this is about the election, and it really, truly is about taking Donald Trump's election from 2024, putting it in a form of a bill, and having the House and the Senate vote on it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. I hope we have you back within the next few weeks. I want to talk to you at some point. We got to talk 2028. But let's get through this bill first and see what happens, okay?
Yes, sir. You have a great weekend, and really appreciate you and all your listeners.
Thank you so much. Chairman Whatley James Golden. Snerdley, the fastest hour in American media, wraps up. God willing, of course, we'll be back tomorrow bright and early. In the meantime, may God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, always, for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. Tomorrow, let's see, we've got Princess Di tomorrow. We've got America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock, tomorrow. We've got your calls tomorrow. We've got our very own Lizzie Radabali tomorrow. All of it on the Saturday Morning Vibe. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?